Two stories to you today. We will first tell the story of Ruth and Orpah as told in the Bible. The storyteller has taken license to conjecture possible motivations and actions for Ruth and Orpah based on the biblical account, as well as commentary and essays written about customs of the times and other cultures' traditions. Our tale starts on a dusty road between the territory of Moab and the city of Bethlehem. Ruth and Orpah are leaving their homes, their families, their gods, and their traditions in Moab to join Naomi in her journey back to her own home with the Israelites. They believe it is their duty as daughters-in-law to do this, as they entered Naomi's home when they married her sons and have been her daughters and each other's sisters for 10 years. Ruth and Orpah are sad and scared. They do not want to leave. Moab is their home. They love Naomi, but they really wish they could stay. Listen. Naomi is telling Ruth and Orpah, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's house. May Adonai deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. El Shaddai grant that you may find security, each of you in the house of your husband." Orpah, whose name means back of neck, is torn. Does she go with Naomi? Does she stay in Moab? Finally, Orpah kisses Naomi goodbye. Then she turns the back of her neck. She deserts Ruth, her sister. She deserts Naomi, her mother. And she goes back to Moab. Orpah, after all, is a Moabite woman. Moabites are descendants of the daughters of Lot. Everyone knows that Moabite women are sexually promiscuous, harmful to good men, and that they worship false gods. We no longer need to speak of Orpah. Ruth is also a Moabite woman, but Ruth has learned about Yahweh in her mother-in-law's house and is full of chesed, loving kindness and loyalty. Ruth must not think of her past. Ruth has grown to love Naomi, who is her new family and the covenant promise of Yahweh. Ruth has gotten nothing from the barren land of Moab. No husband, no home, no children. The Moabite gods of her people have done nothing for her. They must be false gods. Ruth feels sure that she needs to follow Naomi to the land of the covenant promise of Yahweh. Now, we will tell the story of Orpah and Ruth as might have been told by a native of Moab. The storyteller has taken license to conjecture possible motivations as well as actions for Orpah and Ruth based on Bible commentary and essays written about customs of the times and similar cultural traditions. Our tale starts on the same dusty road between the territory of Moab and the city of Bethlehem. Orpah and Ruth are leaving their homes, their families, their gods, and their traditions in Moab to join Naomi on her journey back to her own home with the Israelites. They believe it is their duty as daughters-in-law to do this, as they entered Naomi's home when they married her sons and have been her daughters and each other's sisters for 10 years. Orpah and Ruth are sad and scared. They do not want to leave Moab. Moab is their home. They love Naomi, but they really wish they could stay. At least Orpah wants to stay. Ruth has always been a rebellious and headstrong woman. Instead of serving her mother's house faithfully as a good Moabite woman would, Ruth has shifted her loyalties to the Israelite woman, Naomi. Ruth has even forsaken the Moabite gods of her people and has told Naomi she will now worship the Israelite God. Listen, Naomi is telling Orpah and Ruth, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's house. May Adonai deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. El Shaddai grant that you may find security, each of you in the house of your husband." Ruth, whose name means watering to saturation, is already filled to overflowing with the false teachings of a foreign woman, Naomi, and chooses to abandon her people and her heritage to go to the new land. We no longer need to speak of Ruth. Orpah, whose name means back of neck, is torn. Does she go with Naomi? Does she stay in Moab? Orpah knows in her heart that she must be true to her people and her gods, as that is her duty as a good Moabite woman. So she kisses Naomi goodbye. Then she turns the back of her neck to Naomi and Ruth to show that she is holding her head proudly in support of her people. Orpah returns to her mother's house. In her land, the home and the land are passed down in the family to the women, because women love, teach, and support the family in both bad times and good. When Orpah comes to her mother's house, her mother runs to greet her, hugs her mightily, and then prepares a special meal to welcome her home. Orpah goes then to offer incense to her favorite god, to thank the god for her return to her family and a good life in Moab. Soon after that, her mother and father find a good man for her to marry. She and her new husband move into her mother's house and start their own family. Orpah is pleased with the life her gods have given her, and she remains proud to be a Moabite woman. This is the end of our story.